Greetings and salutations, friends in Never Neverland. I'm waiting to see or to hear my sound kick in on my main channel here. Is it going to kick in? Oops, not if I'm not clicked on it. Let us see. Chat, chat, hello. Testing, testing. 1, 2. Has not yet kicked in. Still waiting. Let's see. Maybe I did something wrong today. Nope, there we are. Has not yet kicked in. It's working. Sometimes it takes a minute. It looks like my lag is a good 30 seconds to a minute between when I speak and when it hits the tubes. So I don't know how other people run their live streams, and if you're wondering, but I find it takes several seconds up to a minute for what I'm saying to actually reach the stream on YouTube. So I don't know, mostly today I was just bored and I was hoping people would come by for a little chat. I had big plans to do some garden work today. I went to the garden supply store this morning and got mulch and some ground cover in bright colors of reds and chartreuse for a little section that I want to redo down in the garden. And then I looked at the weather report and it's going to rain. I just looked out the window and it's sprinkling now already. So that's what happened to my big plans. So, the other crap I have going on this week of no great importance, but fun, is I think I'm going to start working on Cloud Atlas, the movie, and some of the numbers and imagery that was in that was kind of in your face about the nature of our reality and where it's headed. There's a lot of really good stuff in there, might be interesting to somebody else depending on how they came through their own journey. But it was interesting to me when I watched it the first time, and this is one of the fun things that I do, hoping that people somewhere in my family may pick up some of the movies out of the cupboard. I put little stickers on them indicating numbers to look up, names, themes, things that might help to open and expand the minds of somebody if they find them, because there's a certain, hey London, what's up? I'm glad to see you. There's a certain level of things that you can't just tell people. They have to come to understand it on their own, and they have to find that path their own way, and it might be very different from the way that somebody else comes to their acceptance of the nature of reality and their part in it and where it's all headed and why, and overcome the fear of it. So I don't know if you were here when I just showed this, like what I do to my movies, London, before I put them back in the cupboard. I put these stupid little stickers all over them that have like numbers and symbols written on them. I know you can't see the writing on them because it's so bright, the glare, but it doesn't look an awful lot like anybody's going to hang out in our house and actually watch any of those movies. Maybe they'll find them when I'm long gone and go, what does all this crap mean on the cover? Why did Aunt Jenny put these stickers everywhere? And what the heck is she talking about? Because to just tell people, wasting your time. So I'm also going to do some readings of William Butler Yeats in the coming days or weeks. Aloha, JP! What's up across the pond? I hope it's all love and light over there. Oh, yeah. Uh, I'll have to look for a trailer of that and check it out. Well, shoot, maybe we can pull one up here. I wonder if they would blast me off the interwebs for sharing the trailer. I don't know how that stuff works. I haven't attempted it yet. To see if like that would get me some kind of copyright strike or not. It's weird, the stuff that does get you a strike. Oh, right? Like I wish my boobies were this big. Nope, it's my knees. Man, wouldn't I be lucky if I had some girls such as that? Some big old firm sweater puppies to keep me warm in the winter. But alas, no. These are my knees. I'm just, sitting like a farmer because I'm all dressed for outside work and not getting to do it because of the rain. Hi, Joe. Much love to JJ. I'm going to read a little bit of, I guess just an introduction to Yeats. Because when I started out doing my own thing, like when I got kind of cut off from the world and my own personal journey of craziness and whatever you want to call it began, one of the things I was doing was rereading some of the stories from my childhood, classics, poetry, literature that I loved, and finding the common thread in it that led me to a deeper understanding of the nature of reality. And it's weird that it's in there in the literature and the fiction and the movies and stuff like that. But I started to, by looking at the lives of some of these people, come to understand that a lot of them were involved in different mystery schools and secret societies. Yeats and J.R.R. Tolkien were both members of the Golden Dawn. And Yeats in particular was friends with Madame Blavatsky, which is significant because they gave us these clues about what the French is going on and the world to come through literature, poetry, and stories. I do that too sometimes. I have to type at a stoplight, or I'll pull over for a minute if something really important is going on, and I'm like, oh my God, I must chime in. But, we all get there how we get there. Hey, Tony, what's up? I'm going to quickly read this one little interview with Yeats by a man named Daniel Nicol Dunlop. It was published in the Irish Theosophist in Dublin, Ireland, November 15th, 1893. Hopefully this isn't too dry and boring for y'all, but I don't know, I think it begins to bring understanding to how a person doesn't necessarily have to be in any specific order or religion or sect or on that there is no one correct way to get to the truth and to get to your own thread in reality. So let us read this very short interview with Yeats. A few evenings ago, I called on my friend, Mr. W.B. Yeats, and found him alone, seated in his armchair, smoking his cigarette, with a volume of Homer before him. The whole room indicated the style and taste peculiar to its presiding genius. Upon the walls hung various designs by Blake and other less well-known symbolic artists. Everywhere, books and papers, in apparently endless profusion. In his usual genial way, he invited me to have a cup of tea with him. During this pleasant ceremony, little was said, but sufficient to impress me more than ever with the fact that my host was supremely an artist, much in love with his art. With a passion deep and entrancing, he adores his art. His bread is from her lips, his exhilaration from the taste of her. The muse finds in him a tongue to respond to her most subtle beauties. In song was handed down the great solar religions that advanced the people of antiquity. In song, those of a later day received that which caused them to emerge from their cold isolation and kiss the warm lips of Helios. And in these days, too, we look to the poets for that inspiration which will overflow mankind with true desires and guide new ages on by flights of living lyres. That was a quote. Tea over, I disclosed the object of my visit. Mr. Yeats, I said, I understand that you saw a great deal of Madame Blavatsky in the earlier days of the Theosophical movement in England, and so I thought you might have something to say regarding her, which would interest the readers of the Irish Theosophist. Yes, replied Mr. Yeats. I had the privilege of seeing Madame Blavatsky frequently at that time, and so many interesting little incidents crowd in upon me that I find some difficulty in selecting what might be most interesting to your readers. Well, I replied, suppose you begin by giving your personal impression. Madame Blavatsky, said Mr. Yeats, struck me as being a very strong character. In her ordinary moods, rather combative, and inclined to rub people's prejudices the other way. When depressed, she dropped her combativeness and, thrown back on herself, as it were, became most interesting and talked about her own life. A clever American, who was not a theosophist, said to me once, Madame Blavatsky has become the most famous woman in the whole world by sitting in her armchair and getting people to talk to her. I have heard it stated, said I, in connection with the Column incident, that Madame Blavatsky showed great lack of insight into character. For so powerful a personality, replied Mr. Yeats, she did seem to lack something in that respect. I remember, for instance, on one occasion she introduced me to a French occultist whom she spoke of very highly, and even urged me to read his books. Within a short time he was expelled from the society for what appeared excellent reasons. I have had to expel him, said Madame Blavatsky to me. He sold a love elixir for 2 francs. Had it been 40 francs, I might have overlooked the fact. On another occasion, she told me quite seriously that I would have a severe illness within 6 months, and I am waiting for that illness still. Attempts are made by people very often, continued Mr. Yeats, to wash humanity out of their leaders. Madame Blavatsky made mistakes. She was human, and to me that fact makes her, if possible, the more interesting. Another peculiarity was her evident lack of proportion. An attack on the Theosophical movement, she did not seem to mind personal attacks, in some obscure little paper, was to her as of much importance as if it appeared in the Times. In reply to another question, Mr. Yeats remarked that she had met Demosset a few times, and it's Balzac, but it sounds like Balzac. How do you like that? She had worked a little at occultism with George Sands, but, to use her own words, both were mere dabblers at the time. What did you think of Madame Blavatsky as a talker? I asked. It has been said of Dr. Johnson, replied Mr. Yeats, that the effeminate reader is repelled by him, and the same might be said of Madame Blavatsky as a talker. She had that kind of faculty which repelled the weak and attracted those of a stronger temperament. She hated paradox, and yet she gave utterance to the most magnificent paradox I ever heard. As you heard her talk a good deal, perhaps you will kindly relate to me any interesting sayings that occur to you, said I. With pleasure, replied Mr. Yeats, lighting another cigarette. I called on Madame Blavatsky one day with a friend, a TCD man. She was trying to explain to us the nature of the Akas and was entering into an exceedingly subtle metaphysical analysis of the difference between foreknowledge and predestination, a problem which has interested theologians of ancient as well as modern times, showing the way in which the whole question was mixed up with the question of the Akas when suddenly she broke off. My friend, not following, and said, turning round and pointing to one of her followers who was present, "You with your spectacles and your imprudence, you will be sitting there in the Akas to all eternity. No, not to all eternity, for a day will come when even the Akas will pass away, and then there shall be nothing but God, chaos, that which every man is seeking in his heart." At another time, when I called, she seemed rather depressed. "Ah," she said, "there is no solidarity among the good. There is only solidarity among the evil. There was a time when I used to blame and pity the people who sold their souls to the devil. Now I only pity them. I know why they do it. They do it to have somebody on their side. As for me, I write, 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 as the wandering Jew walks, walks, walks." On one occasion, too, said Mr. Yeats, continuing, she referred to the Greek church as the church of her childhood, saying, "The Greek church, like all true religions, was a triangle, but it spread out and became a bramble bush, and that is the church of Rome. Then they come and lop off the then they came and lopped off the branches and turned it into a broomstick, and that is Protestantism." Excuse me if I can't pronounce that properly. In reply to a question, Mr. Yeats said, quoting her own words with reference to Colonel Olcott, "Ah, he is an honest man. I am an old Russian savage." And referring to Mr. Old, she said, with a hearty enthusiasm, that, in certain respects, he was above all those about her at the time. "Can you remember anything in the nature of a prophecy, Mr. Yeats, made by Madame Blavatsky, that might be of interest to record, notwithstanding the fact that you are yet awaiting your prophesied illness?" "The only thing of that nature," replied Mr. Yeats, "was a reference to England. The master told me," she said, "that the power of England would not outlive the century, and the master never deceived me." "I am very much obliged to you, Mr. Yeats," said I, "for the kind manner in which you have responded to my enquiries regarding Madame Blavatsky. Perhaps you will pardon me if I ask you one or two questions about your own work now. Do you intend, at any time, publishing a book on mysticism?" "Yes. At no very distant date, I hope to publish a work dealing with mystics I have seen and stories I have heard, but it will be as an artist, not as a controversialist. Contra- controversial Controversialist. Excuse me, that was a tough one. "And what about your present work?" I asked. "Celtic Twilight, a work dealing with ghosts, goblins, and fairies, will be out shortly. Also a small selection of Blake's poems," he replied. "Then I am getting ready for publication next spring a book of poems which I intend calling The Wind Among the Reeds, and as soon afterwards as possible a collection of essays and lectures dealing with Irish nationality and literature, which will probably appear under the title of The Watchfire." After due apologies for my intrusion, I bade my host good evening and withdrew, feeling more than satisfied with the result of my interview. Mr. Yeats has often been spoken of as a dreamer, and many strange stories are afloat which go a long way to bear out such a statement. But in my opinion, he combines the man of thought with the man of action. He is whole of heart and sound of head, and Ireland may, indeed, be proud of one who promises to rank among her most worthy sons. I think that was a very good interview, and I thought it was a nice little introduction to some Yeats and his association with, I guess, the Theosophists, the Golden Dawn, and all of those mystery schools of old. There was another one he was involved with, one of the Hermetic orders. I don't remember. It's in my notes somewhere, but I don't know how much I'll go into it. Um, by sitting on her secret society arse. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Where she's so interesting because she got people to come and talk to her. It was fun. Um, things reading Gaddafi's The Green Book and the work of the Cloudbusters General Wilhelm Reich. Ha ha ha. I need to build me a garden cloudbuster too. Hey, Zaralath, what's up? I just read a little interview with Yeats, and I don't know. Don't know how much more discussion I want to do on his background today. Just kind of that note for people who are new to this kind of area of study that um, the poets and the great writers of fiction who have been placed in our path were placed there for a reason. One of the weird things, I think it was a truthful thing that they told me in school when I was very young. I think I've mentioned that I didn't go to traditional schools at all until college. I managed to always be on the outside or on the inside in a special facility, being educated by tutors or on my own. But one of the things that was impressed upon me early was that sometimes the knowledge that survives until our present day, um, the authors are actually unknown, the original authors, and they are renamed often as a clue. How do I say it? I don't know. Like they get renamed over and over again as a clue to the greater picture. And they're drawing on works that always existed and truths that always existed, revealed to people through the muses, the angels, grasping at the Akashic records, all those things. They're all true. So, let us see. Let's have a quick reading of one of my very favorites by Yeats. And then perhaps I will end. I don't know, or maybe I'll read another one. The Stolen Child. This is everyone's favorite, I think. Mine, anyway. Where dips the rocky highland of Sleuth Wood in the lake, there lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake. The drowsy water rats, there we've hid our fairy vats, full of berries and of reddest stolen cherries. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wave of moonlight glosses the dim gray sands with light, far off by the furthest Rosses, we footed all the night, weaving olden dances, mingling hands and mingling glances, till the moon has taken flight. To and fro we leap and chase the frothy bubbles, while the world is full of troubles and is anxious in its sleep. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with the fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wandering water gushes from the hills above Glen Car, in pools among the rushes that scarce could bathe a star, we seek for slumbering trout, and whispering in their ears, give them unquiet dreams, leaning softly out from ferns that drop their tears. Over the young streams. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with the fairy hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Away with us he's going, the solemn-eyed. He'll hear no more the lowing of the calves on the warm hillside, or the kettle on the hob sing peace into his breast, or see the brown mice bob round and round the oatmeal chest. For he comes, the human child, to the waters and the wild, with the fairy hand in hand, from a world more full of weeping than he can understand. Gives me the vapors without exception, every time. Okay, we'll read another. To an isle in the water. Shy one, shy one, shy one of my heart. She moves in the firelight, pensively apart. She carries in the dishes and lays them in a row. To an isle in the water, with her I would go. She carries in the candles and lights the curtained room, shy in the doorway and shy in the gloom. And shy as a rabbit, helpful and shy, to an isle in the water, with her I would fly. um, let's see. We'll do this one last, and then I'm gonna close it out. Hi, Don McFron. To the rose upon the root of time. Red rose, proud rose, sad rose of all my days, come near me while I sing the ancient ways. Cuckoo lane battling with the bitter tide, the druid grey, wood-nurtured, quiet-eyed, who cast round Fergus dreams and ruin untold, and thine own sadness, whereof stars grown old. In dancing silver sandaled on the sea, sing in their high and lonely melody. Come near, that no more blinded by man's fate, I find under the boughs of love and hate, in all poor foolish things that live a day, eternal beauty wandering on her way. Come near, come near, come near. Ah, leave me still a little space for the rose breath to fill, lest I no more hear common things that crave, the weak worm hiding down in its small cave, the field mouse running by me in the grass, and heavy mortal hopes that toil and pass, but seek alone to hear the strange things said by God to the bright hearts of those long dead, and learn to chant a tongue men do not know. Come near, I would, before my time to go. Sing of old air and the ancient ways, red rose, proud rose, sad rose of all my days. Oh, be still my heart. So yeah, I guess that was a pretty short one, half an hour, but I don't know how much more to go on. I could read Yeats all day, I suppose, but I don't know. Sure, let's read one more. Why not? The Song of Wandering Angus. I went out to the hazel wood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand, and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing, and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream, and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the floor, I went to blow the fire aflame, but something rustled on the floor, and someone called me by my name. It had become a glimmering girl with apple blossom in her hair, who called me by my name and ran and faded through the brightening air. Though I am old with wandering through hollow lands and hilly lands, I will find out where she has gone, and kiss her lips and take her hands, and walk among the long dappled grass, and pluck till time and times are done the silver apples of the sun. Yeah, definitely done, because they all seem to tie together very nicely over and over again, no matter what I can do. And it kind of goes back to what hey Jess, it's been a minute. I hope you're doing well. Hi, my Cherie. Give a quick shout out to everyone who's here right now. I got Jess Palmer, my Cherie, Annalani, Tony's Coffee House, Don McRon, Zara Lath Immortal, Just JP, Lev Kung Fu Shaolin, one of my favorite names on the internet, and London McLovin, and Joe Cool, and JJ listening in the background. And my tinfoil tea party is also here. Yeah, you've been busy. Well, this was not much of a story time, Jess. I just was talking a little bit about Yeats and some of the other great authors and poets of our past, and how they were, or many of them anyway, from what I've come to understand, were connected to mystery schools and different schools of thought, and it shows in their work and gives us, if we're looking for it, clues to the nature of reality and times to come. Um, yeah, it looks like the rain stopped over here now, Tony. But It might be a little too wet and nasty to go sit in the dirt. I was really hoping to get some gardening done, but maybe by tomorrow it'll be a little bit less muddy. I got to pick just the right times to work in certain areas of the yard because like the ground will get really hard packed. But if it's too freshly rainy, it's also too heavy for me to dig into. So I have to like time it out perfectly. Yeah, schools of Toth. Exactly. It's crazy stuff. And if you took a kind of certain path through life of isolation and what seems like rejection by the world, sometimes it works out to your benefit in the long run because you end up with not just an opportunity to go within, but an almost forced um, forced education in a way. I don't know how many people have heard the term like that we're going through a worldwide initiation, but it sure does look that way from a certain perspective. And it's another one of those things, like I've said in some of my decodes, where willful ignorance will be the downfall of some people in it because they chose the distraction of the bread and circuses over what seems to me a very clear story laid out before us. And people often get distracted from it by getting caught up in their feelings about the evil elites and stuff like that. They don't even look at the whole story and what the story is telling you because they're so worried about what somebody else is doing. So what if these people are up to evil? You know what? The time is going to come when it's over. And those people who prepare to be part of that will make it. And the people who decide to be ignorant of the nature of reality and of God are going to be ill prepared, and it will be harder for them to make it, and they may not because of it. But that's not going to be my problem anymore. You can only save people who want to be saved, and God helps those who help themselves. It's not that tough, really, when you break it down. I think most of us are going to be just fine. Well, the thing about millennial reign is, what year is it? Really? And is, if we know that things happen cyclically, how many reigns are there? I have my own thoughts about where this particular one is heading, but only time will tell. Yeah, we don't know what year it is, and that's why I walk away from a lot of different places that try to put a definite spin on it. And while they're arguing about who wrote history and which parts of it are distraction and which parts of it are skewed by victors of different wars and whatnot, it does not negate the fact that the resets happen. It's this year and today. If only, man, I'm ready for this reset. I am. I'm done up to here with full honkery and the reign of evil. Because see, like, while these people in the media and stuff, everybody's like, oh, they're all evil child eating monsters. That might be. But they followed the rules by giving you exactly the story. And they put it out there in so many different ways that to not see it is willful ignorance. We can get mad at them all we want to, but it's not going to change the fact that disclosure has been upon us for the longest time, and we get to pick We do. Yeah, time is a strange concept at that, Jess. A very strange concept. Um, and further on the nature of reality itself, it really is shaped by perception to a great degree. What do you mean? What are we talking about? We're talking about the great reset of the realm. And the nature of reality as revealed to us through literature and mystery schools. Um, and like as far as this reset goes, like I've said before, how it actually plays out in the physical in relationship to all of us is still. Oh, okay. I'm glad you're kidding. Sure. um, is still kind of a mystery because perception is going to influence it. Um, I think, in fact, if all roads lead where? Exactly. Where do they lead? Um, 42. I don't know. Uh, I think it was Zaralath I was talking with one day about are you a chosen or are you a choosing? And what happens when you're both? What happens if you like destiny? You know what I mean? What happens if you find your thread and you go, groovy? Yeah, let's play this out. Um, Yeah, I think theirs is just a distraction, Don McRon. They got people so worried about their money, so worried about their savings, and me too, to a degree, because certain things just keep getting overturned every time I try to rebuild something and decide what I want and I'm going to go for it. The powers that should not be intervene in some way that changes like what the amount of money I've saved can now purchase me. It'll I said before at the beginning of the pandemic, I was pretty set and ready to pick up and go and start this kind of van life adventure that I wanted to have for a couple of years. And that whole kerfuffle changed what my money could afford me. And that's the kind of thing that I think a lot of us come up against over and over again is you work for so many years to save a certain amount of money to achieve a certain goal and then you know your powers and principalities around you go, oh well, I changed the rules now that you're here one step from the finish line. I've changed all the rules and all of the prices and you're not going to be able to do that now. See ya, peasant. Well, got a good feeling that however portions of this work out, um they're they're not going to win. Um, and what they do win will be deserved. You know, the the people who buyed into it, okay, they had just as many tools at their disposal as the rest of us. Yeah, we do need to help others to help ourselves. But all you can do is, lead people to water. You can't force them to drink. That's like drowning. Um, Especially if they're not ready for it. And I know that I run up against stuff sometimes that I'm totally not ready for, and I have to like step back and digest or just walk away for a while I come to terms with certain information and how it affects me and affects my own life, let alone the people around me. Um, I tried to explain certain things to my family here and there, and wow, their reactions were just crazy. But they'll turn around and say it's me who's crazy. No, I'm not. I already figured that one out. I'm not crazy. I'm just fine. I just took a strange road to get to here and now. But I think that most of us did. All roads are kind of unique. And unfortunately, the roads that are not unique are the very broad, basic ones that seem to trap a lot of people. Money tokens will be redeemable in jars. I'm never even really sure what to do about the money and finances thing. I always manage to have enough because I don't have a lot of material wants. Uh, and it kind of fills empty time alone to build and grow and plant and sow on your own, and also gives a person that personal time to contemplate um, things that they've read and been presented with, and figure out what parts you think apply and walk away from the others. Yeah, there isn't any such thing as a dumb question, in my opinion, either, Jess. I mean, without questioning, how will we know? But then sometimes the answers need to be questioned again and pulled apart and investigated. But it's like getting a sign along the road to wherever you're going. If the sign's in another language, do you follow it blindly or do you look for the root meaning of it? I'll look for the root meaning myself rather than just following blindly. Um, we are the community for this. Jess, we're doing it now. Yeah, ask a lot of questions of Tony. I ask questions everywhere I go. Um, and I've been through a lot of different kind of religious and belief groups through my life, just trying to find a way to ease the pain of some of the things that happened to me when I was a child. But one of the interesting things about abused children and being kind of stuck in childhood emotionally is that it does, to a certain degree, keeping a childlike mind is a good thing because it keeps you continuing to question the whys of things and looking for answers instead of becoming another brick in the wall. You know what I mean? So, I don't know how else to say it. Uh, some people accept the answers that they're given and they become just another Lego man and work for the man and do as they say, and they may go very far in the world as far as materially and stuff like that. Um, and it may not be until they're old and wealthy that they have the time available to explore themselves and the depths of their own soul and come to know God through it. And by then, it may be too late to overcome the karma that they've stored up, because that may very well work out to be a real thing that prevents people from moving into the new reset, into the new world, um, in a positive way. It looks more and more to me from my own personal media decodes and literature studies and things like that, that though I don't know what it's going to actually look like, people really will be yoked into servitude because they chose it by ignoring the bigger picture and ignoring God. Bummer on them. I'm still going to put my own messages out there as I find them and figure out ways to present them, but uh, it doesn't seem to me anyway, in my opinion, it doesn't do us too much good to get lost in the grief over the people that will be lost, because we're giving them the chances. We're doing what we can to help people. And I wouldn't say teach, but share. Share what you learn and what conclusions you might come to through your own path, and let people um, sort it out themselves. I still don't think there's any one correct, perfect way to do it. And that's where I always end up walking away from groups and groupthink, because inevitably they sow hatred against another group, or say that if you don't like their book or their school or their gods or whatever it is, that you face condemnation. And that's not necessarily true. In my heart, I do not believe that somebody living in a deep jungle somewhere, who's come to the love, appreciation, and worship of creation and what's been given to us, from their own path, I don't believe that they will be condemned because they didn't find a particular book in the library, because it wasn't there for them. That does not mean they are bad. No part of me will ever believe that. Just can't. Yeah, I agree, Jess. Some are just blind, but there's still time. There is still time. As long as we're here, there's still time. And, even the people who are yoked into a level of servitude, in some cases, it will be for their benefit, in my opinion, hopefully. Totally for their benefit in the long run. It's going to be bumpy. You know what I mean? Because of it. I spent a lot of time getting stuck in my feels about certain things like that, but it's not going to stop me. I'll just have sad days. That's all. So let's see if we can find one more beautiful poem to close us out. Well, this one's just great. He reproves the curlew. O curlew, cry no more in the air, or only to the water in the west, because your crying brings to my mind passion-dimmed eyes and long heavy hair that was shaken out over my breast. There is enough evil in the crying of wind. And there we will end, dear poetic hearts. I love you all. Thanks for stopping in. You come for the content and they pull a Santos on you. Ha ha. Yeah, sometimes you come for the content and they pull a Santos. Right? Total bummer. But we carry on day by day in the great quest. So much love. I hope there's some chats going on, because it's muddy and gross outside and I'm not going to get to dig in the dirt as much as I'd like. Tony's Coffee House, Jess Palmer, Mai Cherie, Anolani, Lev Kung Fu, Shaolin, Don McRon, Just JP, London McLovin. I don't remember who else I had. It's already slipped my mind. Ojo Cool, Zerlath, and Mr. London Man. So, yeah, it's hard to close out when I don't have a definite plan, but I love y'all and I'll see you soon. Oh, thanks for the links. You know what? I'm going to watch them before I even close out my chat, but I am going to end the stream here. I don't know if anybody else notices that, but if you're like a small channel, your chat disappears for like 24 hours and you have to wait for it to rematerialize to go back in and add mods or pick up the links. But on some of these big channels, like, their chat is immediately there and stays there as soon as the live stream ends. I don't know why that is, but sometimes I don't get to explore the links people drop for me until the next day. So I apologize for that. But just so other people know that it seems to work that way sometimes. I don't know why. I don't know the rules of YouTube completely. I'm figuring them out as I go. So, happy Moon Day, y'all. Much love.